What's up? Juno here. I watched a video by someone who I'm subscribed to, and I recommend you should check out his videos. He makes some good content, and this is no way meant to be critical towards him. I just want to explain some things when it happens to be related to television or movies or TV shows, whatever. And he released a video called History Channel Sucks. And in this video, he displayed an opinion in terms of a show that he enjoyed when he found out some information about it in doing some research. Now, full disclosure, while I do work in entertainment, I do not work for any major cable network or broadcast television station or anything like that. The line of work I do, for the most part, up until 2 weeks ago, was freelance, but right now I'm working for a company and we deal with all sorts of things. But it's still the same sort of line of work. And specifically what type of work I do is post-production, and that is everything after the footage is shot is post. So when it's being picture cut, when it has color correction done to it, scoring, special effects, you name it, that stuff gets inserted at the end after it's already been shot for the most part. What he was specifically dismayed by happened to do with the show Pawn Stars, and he found on their website that certain people that appear on the show have been pre-selected to come in and appear on the show. And like I said, I want to go from this from a variety of different ways here. And what it really means by that is reality TV show isn't really real. There is some script to it. Now, I have worked on a variety of different formats of projects. I've worked on reality TV shows, I've worked on feature films, I've worked on short films, I've worked on commercials, I've worked on web series, I've worked on student films, I've worked on all sorts of different things, in a short amount of time as well. So my background is very diverse in terms of various formats, various rules, various regulations, stuff like that. So what I mean by reality TV is not real is, think about your daily life. Is it that interesting, your morning routine before you go off to work or school or whatever your daily routine is? Is it really that interesting? No, it's not. For the most part, there are certain aspects to your daily routine which aren't interesting at all. Now, if there was a show that was to film that without any sort of intervention, whether it be creatively or setting up certain things, it doesn't matter. They have to spice it up in a way, otherwise it's not going to be profitable. It's not going to succeed. And for the most part, when a company or a network or whatever, a creative mind or creative community wants to put out a show, they want it to be as successful as possible. If it's a TV show, they want it to go on for many seasons. If it's a movie, they want to make sequels or continue on with various aspects of franchise. Because for a movie, feature film here, to be considered profitable, it has to make 2.5 times what it cost to make the film. So if a movie cost $20 million to make, it has to make $50 million when it's released on DVD and in the theaters. So it has to make at least 2.5 times that, just to put it into perspective for you. So that's a considerable amount of money. And $20 million, movies can be made a lot cheaper than that, especially nowadays with access to certain things. It's very easy to get your hands on equipment to shoot a movie. There's various different things that you can do to shoot something that can win awards for very little money, which is amazing. Especially if you know a lot of people in a lot of different areas to put your film together, you can get a lot done. So yes, there is some creative intervention that has to happen with reality TV to make it interesting. Some drama gets screwed up, or some things happen behind the scenes or predetermined, like in the reality show I worked on. I have a certain bit of confidentiality that I have to keep, but what was happening is they had to drum up certain things because some things happened during the duration when the thing was being built that ended up working out. And in a way, this was going to affect the subject of the show. So it had to be built, it had to be manufactured for it to be interesting. Otherwise, would you watch it? No, of course not. It's not interesting. It's not fun. It's not good. It's just that. And what's great about reality television is, well, the regulations, in a way, to certain aspects of it, is kind of lax. But it pays very well. I've mentioned to some people that I made more in 2 days working on a reality show than I made working on a feature film for a few months, which is shocking to say the least. I made a lot of money in a short amount of time, and it was fantastic. Now, Freethinker3161 also brought up that if it's History Channel, shouldn't it be dealing with historical things? And they talk about conspiracy things and various other programs that aren't really historical. And I agree with you. But think of the name History Channel like Fox calls their news network. Fox News. Yeah, there may be certain historical things that happen, but sometimes to diversify their programming, they have to have an audience. Now, the cable market is huge. Whether you have cable or a satellite dish, you can get hundreds of channels coming through your box of whatever variety of programming you choose to subscribe to. There's hundreds of channels. Like, there's certain networks out there, I believe they're mostly satellite companies, but you could pay like a flat fee of like $300 per month and get like every channel they offer, which is amazing. And there's hundreds of them. I mean, if you look through a cable box, like a digital cable box, you can scroll through and there's hundreds of channels available. I mean, whether your package supports it is another question, but the thing is with basic cable, it's very competitive. You know, your expanded basic, so your channels, I don't know, 2 through 100 or whatever. Typically, those are included in basic cable packages if you have a digital cable box. You know, that the basic stuff, the stuff you pay roughly anywhere from $30 to $60 a month for in the basic package. So it's a very competitive market. They have to drive revenue to their network. If they don't, there is no money for programming. There's no money for their existence. If they can't pay their bills, they're not going to make content. So they have to draw advertisers. Now, again, if you're looking for educational programming, there are better networks out there, but it doesn't matter. There's only one style of TV, broadcast television in the United States that doesn't rely on advertising or can't rely on advertising, and that's public broadcasting. We're talking PBS and local public access channels. They are open airways for anyone, for the most part, in terms of trying to have a show or trying to discuss a topic. If you have something that's interesting, you can possibly get a slot on a public access channel. Now, you're probably not going to get PBS, but you may get some local channels. Like a perfect example of this would be the Atheist Community of Austin. They have a very successful show in their local area, but now, thanks to the internet, they are worldwide, and they get callers from all over the world, and it's a very interesting thing. And they don't get advertising revenue. None. Zero. They get none. It's public access. They can't, and they have to abide by certain rules. They can't endorse political candidates, stuff like that. They have to be completely, you know, they're a nonprofit organization. They're a 501c3, so they have to be neutral in certain regards. But cable networks and broadcast networks, like I'm talking ABC, NBC, and anything you get in a paid cable subscription, they don't have to abide by those rules. They're not nonprofits. They can charge whatever the hell they want for advertising, and they have to, because otherwise they're not going to have money to make their programming. And the money gets made because advertising. As annoying as it is, that's how it goes. And it's very expensive to put together a TV show. It is extremely expensive. Now, it depends on what type of TV show it is, but reality TV can be extremely expensive. Even regular, if you think reality TV is expensive, hell, major network programs are even more. It's crazy. So it's a very expensive industry. And the thing is big networks will foot the big bucks. They will spend millions on programs. So that shows you they care, but they have to get their profits back somehow, and that's where advertising comes from. Now, he brought up Top Gear, and I've brought up in the past that I'm a huge fan of Top Gear. Now, the Top Gear I grew to love was the UK one, then the Australian version, now we have the US version. I was surprised to find out that it got picked up by History Channel, but let me tell you why I'm glad it did. Yes, it may not be very historical or fact-based or anything like that, and again, they still have advertisers. I know for the first couple weeks at least of the new US Top Gear, it has had Mercedes sponsoring the hell out of it. Fine, whatever. The UK version can't have sponsors like that because it's on BBC, and that's basically the UK's PBS, except their citizens pay a license fee for that. And if I have any viewers, which I know I do in the UK, I would love to know more information about how the revenue is generated or what you have to pay for that access fee, but that's a side note. If you know information about that, send me a PM. The thing is Top Gear US has had a very rocky start, and it has been in the works for many, many years. but it just hasn't been successful. And even though there's a very huge following worldwide with that show, and a lot of people in the US and a lot of people I talk to do know that show or know of that show or have watched that show in the past. Now, I'm a big, huge fan, and I get the full UK rips as soon as they air, just after they air. I have them. I prefer those copies. But the US version has had a rocky start. Now, I actually tried to attend the taping of the pilot for the original one that was supposed to be on NBC, but NBC decided not to pick it up because of their lineup of programming. They felt it wouldn't be as successful as it could be on some other network, so they let it go. But for the first pilot, with Adam Carolla, I believe Tanner Faust, and some other guy, some design guy or whatever, it was supposed to be on NBC, but it didn't get picked up, so they had to shop around, and they shopped it and shopped it and shopped it for like a year and a half, and finally History Channel picked it up. I don't think it's the best place for it, but then again, History Channel, you know, they have their historical programming. It's on at obscure hours, but they do have it. And I don't agree with their entire lineup, but I find a lot of their shows pretty interesting, and I do enjoy them. I'm not going to sit here and try and argue taste, but there are some shows that I do watch and I do find great, even though other people around me find them incredibly boring. But they have to diversify. If they don't, they're not going to survive. Diversifying their programming is very important. It keeps an audience and it draws an audience, and that's very important. You want to keep your audience, you want to draw an audience, you want to expand your audience. Again, you want to be as successful as possible. It's hard. It can be hard. And if the outcome isn't good, like I have hopes for the UK or for the US Top Gear, I think it could be a potentially great show. But they need to work on some things. There are some big glaring issues that I don't care to go into in this video, but if they can get it to work, I think it could be successful. Maybe as successful as the UK one. They have 14 seasons to catch up to, but let's hope they are on for at least more than one, right? Anyway, I hope this clears up some things and gives you some insight into how things go in terms of entertainment. Like I said, I do not work for any network in particular. There are certain networks that I do like watching, but I'm not, believe it or not, someone who watches a lot of TV, even though I work with footage from TV and movies all the time. I don't. Sometimes that's work. It can be work. I do love it, but sometimes I want to do something different that doesn't involve things related to it. Anyway, I'm making YouTube videos, right? So in a way, I guess I'm still kind of at least utilizing the tools that I use for work. Well, do your part. Blaspheme Daily. Check out his video. It's very interesting, and maybe you have similar concerns.